Forget what you learned in school. This is History's Unhinged Side. Welcome to Lifespan, the weekly podcast that digs up the dirt on the most outrageous, chaotic, and downright WTF lives ever lived. Today, we're embarking on a truly bizarre journey into the absolutely wild story of Grigori Rasputin.
Indeed. We're looking at the twilight years of the Russian Empire, late 19th, early 20th centuries, a time that was just ripe with tension.
Ripe for someone like Rasputin to emerge.
It's exactly. Whether you see him as extraordinary or perhaps more accurately infamous.
And that's the crazy part. This guy Rasputin, he was a dirt-poor Siberian peasant, apparently barely literate. And somehow he gets into the inner circle of the Romanovs, the actual Tsar and Tsarina. It just sounds impossible.
It really does. And to understand how that could even happen, you have to picture Russia at that moment. It was this vast empire, but it was grappling with some, well, enormous problems.
Totally. You had this crushing poverty for so many people right next to unbelievable aristocratic wealth.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And underneath it all, these rumblings of revolution just constantly bubbling away.
Plus a Tsar, Nicholas II, who wasn't exactly known for being decisive.
And not at all. And then layered on top of all that political turmoil, you have this deeply personal tragedy within the royal family.
Well, Alexei.
Their son, Alexei, yes. His hemophilia, that inherited bleeding disorder. It was this constant source of terror for them.
And medicine back then couldn't do much, could it?
Very little. They were desperate, which, sets the stage perfectly for Rasputin's arrival around 1905, was it?
Yeah, around then. He just sort of appears, and he seems to have this knack, this uncanny ability to calm Alexei down during his bleeding episodes, to ease the suffering.
And the real kicker is nobody could quite figure out how he did it. That's the enduring mystery.
Was it some kind of actual healing power? Hypnosis? Just dumb luck?
Or something else entirely. That's what this bizarre journey is all about. We want to explore, how did he get that influence? Why did everyone get so worked up about him? And of course, what really happened during that absolutely legendary assassination.
Okay, let's dig in. The royals first. How did this peasant, Rasputin, get such a tight grip on them? Especially the Tsarina.
Well, Tsarina Alexandra's devotion became total. Utterly absolute. She genuinely saw him as a man of God.
The divine messenger.
Yes. Someone sent specifically to save her son, and by extension she believed the whole Romanov dynasty. Her faith in him was just unshakable.
But the Tsar, Nicholas, he was a bit more cautious at first.
He was. Initially, definitely more skeptical. But he adored Alexandra, and he saw the effect Rasputin seemed to have, the release he brought.
So he had to defer to her.
Eventually, yes. He relied on her judgment in this, which created this difficult situation where, challenging Rasputin felt like challenging the Tsarina herself, undermining the family.
Which I imagine the rest of the aristocracy just loved.
Oh, they were horrified. Absolutely horrified. You can just picture it, right?
This rough Siberian peasant suddenly showing up in their elegant salons.
Exactly. This uncouth peasant, as they called him. Not only whispering in the Tsarina's ear, but supposedly giving advice on politics, getting involved in appointments.
And the rumors about his behavior didn't help, I guess. The drinking, the women.
No, not at all. They saw him as completely inappropriate, a danger to Russia's reputation, a threat to the Tsar's authority, and frankly, a threat to their own influence. It was a real clash of worlds.
So you've got the nobles furious. What about the church? Were they all on board with this holy man?
No. The church was divided too. Some did see him as a starets, a genuine spiritual elder.
But others?
Others were deeply suspicious, saw him as a fraud, maybe even a heretic.
And wasn't there talk about him being linked to that Klisti sect?
Yes, the Klisti. They were this sort of fringe religious group known for, very ecstatic and sometimes pretty unorthodox practices, like flagellation.
Right, and weren't there rumors about other things? Orgies?
There were rumors, yes, mostly unsubstantiated when it came to Rasputin himself, but the association alone was damaging. It just added fuel to the fire for those in the Orthodox establishment who already disliked him.
Okay, so high society is split, the church is split. What about the average person? How did Rasputin look from the outside, especially as the war started going badly?
Public perception really soured, particularly during World War I. As Russia suffered these terrible losses, Rasputin became, a symbol.
A symbol of everything wrong.
Pretty much. Corruption, incompetence, the feeling that the Tsar and Tsarina were completely out of touch with the people suffering. He was the perfect scapegoat.
And the propaganda must have been wild. German spy. Sleeping with the Tsarina, running the country.
All of the above. The affair with Alexandra was almost certainly untrue, but it was incredibly potent propaganda, especially with her German background during the war. It painted this picture of a totally compromised, decadent monarchy.
So he basically became the lightning rod for all the anger and fear.
He did, and ironically, the more the Tsar and Tsarina tried to protect him, to brush off the criticism,
The more powerful he seemed.
exactly,
God.
completely backfire, made him seem untouchable. And then came that first assassination attempt in 1914, Kionia Guseva stabbing him.
And he survived.
He survived, which was added to this growing mystique, this aura of invincibility. The legend was really taking shape.
Okay, now we're entering the real Siberian rabbit hole, the theories. Let's start with the healing. How did he help Alexei? Because that's the foundation of his power.
It really is. The most scientifically plausible idea revolves around hypnosis or just a powerful calming influence.
How so?
Well, we know stress is a major trigger for hemophiliac bleeding. Rasputin had this famously intense gaze, this commanding presence. It seems he could genuinely soothe both the Tsarina and Alexei.
Reducing the stress, reducing the bleeding.
Potentially, yes.
Yeah.
It's this fascinating mix of psychology, the power of suggestion, and maybe just the desperate need for someone to help in that incredibly anxious environment.
And didn't he also tell the doctors to stop giving Alexei aspirin?
That's a crucial part of the theory, yes. Aspirin was common then, but it's a blood thinner. The worst thing for a hemophiliac.
So if Rasputin stopped that...
Whether through folk knowledge or just intuition, advising against aspirin could have had a direct positive physical effect. It's quite compelling.
But for Alexandra, it wasn't about aspirin or calming influences?
Not at all. For her, it was simple. Divine intervention. Proof of Rasputin's holiness. End of story.
Could it have just been coincidence? Like Alexei's condition improved naturally right when Rasputin was there?
That's possible too. Hemophilia has periods of remission. Combine that with a strong placebo effect driven by the Tsarina's absolute faith, it's hard to rule out entirely.
What about actual folk remedies? Did he have some secret Siberian potion?
People speculate about that given his background, but honestly, there's no real evidence, no documentation saying he used specific herbs or treatments for hemophilia. It's more conjecture.
Okay, so the healing is complex. Multiple possibilities. But the assassination, that is where the story just goes completely bonkers. The cyanide first.
Right. Prince Yusupov's famous account, loading up cakes and Madeira wine with potassium cyanide, supposedly enough to kill several men instantly.
And Rasputin just eats and drinks it. Like nothing.
According to Yusupov, yes. Completely unaffected, just kept asking for more wine.
Which obviously fueled the whole supernatural powers thing.
Oh, absolutely. Yusupov himself played that up. Made Rasputin seem almost demonic, which made the assassins look like heroes battling evil.
And that myth about sugar neutralizing cyanide.
Yeah, that's scientifically incorrect. Doesn't work like that.
So what are the more likely reasons the poison failed? Assuming it did fail.
Well, several things. Maybe the cyanide was old, degraded. Maybe it wasn't mixed or administered properly in the food and drink.
Or Yusupov was exaggerating.
Highly likely. His account is the primary source, but it's definitely dramatic, possibly self-serving. It's also been suggested Rasputin's stomach issues, or even just stomach acid, might have played a role. Or maybe he did feel something, but just didn't show it. He was known for his toughness.
Okay, poison fails.
Yeah.
Plan B, shooting. Yusupov shoots him. He goes down.
He goes down, but then, according to the story, he suddenly revives.
Comes back to life.
Roars. Apparently lunges at Yusupov, claws at him, and manages to stagger out into the courtyard. It's pure melodrama.
And that's when the other guy, Purishkevich, shoots him again.
Yes, Purishkevich fires several more times. There are conflicting accounts about the final shot, forehead and back of the head. It was chaos.
Again, feeding the legend of Rasputin the Unkillable.
Exactly, this image of superhuman resilience. But, physiologically.
Adrenaline, shock, the cold.
All plausible factors. Adrenaline, shock, the freezing cold night. They could explain a surprising level of resistance to injury. Plus, maybe Yusupov's first shot wasn't instantly fatal. His whole story of the resurrection could easily be exaggerated, panic, and, again, making the struggle seem more epic.
And even then, after being poisoned and shot multiple times, they dump him in the river, the Neva. And the autopsy finds water in his lungs.
Yes, that famous detail, which led immediately to the conclusion that he was still alive when he hit the water, that he actually drowned.
But wait, isn't there some medical thing where water can get into the lungs even after death? Hydrostatic pressure?
There is, yes. Water pressure can force fluid into the lungs post-mortem, which complicates things.
Huh.
However, the actual autopsy report by Dr. Kosryatov,
What did he conclude?
he concluded that drowning was a contributing factor, along with the gunshots and the beating. It suggests that, incredibly, Rasputin was likely still alive, or at least biologically functioning, when he went into the river. Just unbelievable tenacity.
Wow. Okay, stepping back from the immediate violence.
Hmm.
What about those bigger conspiracy theories? Like British intelligence being involved, MI6.
That's a persistent one. The theory goes that the British were worried Rasputin was pushing the Tsar towards making a separate peace deal with Germany in World War I.
Which would have been terrible for the Allies.
A disaster. So the idea is that MI6 might have encouraged or even directly assisted the Russian conspirators to make sure Rasputin was eliminated.
And wasn't there actually a British intelligence officer there that night? Oswald Rayner?
Yes. Rayner, who was a friend of Yusupov's from Oxford, was present at the palace. His presence certainly fuels the speculation.
But no smoking gun, no proof.
No definitive proof has ever emerged. It remains this intriguing, shadowy possibility. Another layer to the whole thing.
And the Russian plotters themselves?
Yeah.
Yusupov and the others. They said they were doing it for Russia, right? To save the country.
That was their official line, yes.
Right.
Removing the evil monk, saving the Tsar from his influence, restoring Russia's honor. Patriotic motives.
But probably other stuff going on too. Personal grudges. Snobbery.
Almost certainly. Aristocratic arrogance, personal dislike, maybe even fear of his influence replacing theirs. It was likely a mix of patriotic fervor and, well, more self-interested motives.
So they kill Rasputin.
Right.
But, spoiler alert, it doesn't stop the revolution.
No, not at all. In fact, the revolution kicked off just a few months later. His death didn't save the monarchy. If anything, it cemented his status as a symbol of its decay.
He became this sort of final proof that things were rotten at the top.
Exactly. And it made him an instant cultural phenomenon.
Oh yeah. Movies, books, plays.
Yeah.
He was tailor-made for drama, wasn't he?
Absolutely. Right away, he became this archetype, the shadowy, manipulative advisor, the mystic Svengali figure. He's been portrayed countless times.
Then, decades later, Boney M.
Ah, yes. Ra Rasputin, lover of the Russian queen. That song.
Probably how most people know him now, right?
I think you're right. For better or worse, that disco hit created this global image of him charismatic, maybe a bit debauched, definitely bewitching, not entirely accurate, especially the lover part, but incredibly catchy.
It really sucked. Okay, we can't avoid it. The penis myth. Let's just address it.
Right. The legend of his enormous preserved appendage is one of the most bizarre and persistent parts of the Rasputin lore.
And there have been things displayed in museums claiming to be.
Yes, most famously an artifact in a Russian erotica museum. But scientific analysis, DNA testing, it's been debunked.
So what was it?
Likely a dried sea cucumber, or perhaps part of an animal, definitely not Rasputin's.
But the myth survives because it fits the image. The larger-than-life, sexually potent mystic.
Precisely. It feeds into that narrative of his almost superhuman physical attributes and influence.
So summing up his historical standing, he's seen mostly as a symptom, a sign of the Romanov regime's weakness.
Largely, yes. His ability to gain such influence is often interpreted as evidence of the ruling class's superstition, desperation, and isolation from reality. A catalyst, or at least a major symptom, of the decay that led to revolution.
And he still echoes in culture today, doesn't he? Keep popping up.
He really does. Comic books like Hellboy, films like The King's Man, even cartoons. He's become this shorthand for a certain kind of historical villain or manipulator. His story just has that enduring, slightly unbelievable quality.
Okay, let's hit some of those deep cuts, the fascinating little details. First,
Yeah.
he wasn't actually a monk, the mad monk.
Correct. Never officially ordained. He was what's called a stranik in Russian, a wanderer, a religious pilgrim, an independent holy man, essentially.
And his literacy.
Yeah.
Really basic. Right?
Very limited. Could sign his name, dictate letters, but his own writing was almost childlike, full of errors.
Yet the Tsarina treasured his notes.
She did. She saw the misspellings and simple language as proof of his lack of guile, his spiritual purity. It's quite telling about her mindset.
And the smell. I've read accounts mentioning his personal aroma.
Yes, quite a few contemporaries mentioned his poor hygiene, a strong body odor. Probably a combination of his peasant upbringing and maybe just not caring about courtly standards. Didn't help his relations with the nobles.
We mentioned the 1914 stabbing earlier by Kionia Guseva. He nearly died then.
He did. Emergency surgery saved him. It was a brutal attack by this disillusioned former follower. Some suggest the trauma might have changed him, made him perhaps more erratic afterward.
And the prophecy, that chilling letter predicting his death and the Romanovs.
Ah, yes. The letter that supposedly said if nobles killed him, the Tsar's family would be wiped out within 2 years. And if peasants killed him, the monarchy would last.
Spooky, given what happened.
Incredibly spooky. The Romanovs were killed about 18 months later, but the authenticity of that letter is still debated. Was it written before or after the fact? We don't definitively know.
Yusupov, the lead assassin, quite a character himself. Flamboyant, bisexual.
Very much so. Known for cross-dressing, living extravagantly. His precise motives are debated too. Was it purely patriotism? Or were there more complex personal dynamics, maybe jealousy or even a spurned attraction involved with Rasputin? More layers of intrigue.
And the doctor who did the autopsy, Kosaratov, his report is key, isn't it?
Dr. Dmitry Kosaratov, yes. His detailed medical findings, the gunshots, the beating, the water in the lungs, provide the most objective evidence we have about Rasputin's physical end, cutting through some of Yusupov's more lurid tales.
And finally, his body. What happened to it after the revolution?
It didn't rest in peace for long. After the Tsar fell, revolutionary soldiers found his grave, dug up the coffin, and reportedly took the body to a forest and burned it. A rather dramatic end, even after death.
So we've been on this bizarre journey. Rasputin, mystic healer or clever con man, degenerate or holy figure. What's the final verdict?
I think the truth is he was probably a messy, contradictory mix of all those things. A product of his time and place, genuinely pious in some ways, perhaps, but also opportunistic, and clearly possessed of some unusual psychological influence.
His life was this weird cocktail. And his death. Just completely over the top.
Almost comically so if it weren't so brutal. Poison, bullets, beating, drowning, the sheer drama of it is unparalleled. It speaks volumes about the chaos of the era and the hatred he inspired.
And the legend just keeps going. We're still trying to untangle the man from the myth over a century later.
We are. And maybe that's the takeaway from this whole unhinged story. Sometimes the most unbelievable, the most bizarre parts of history, well, maybe they're the parts that are actually the most real.
Definitely something to think about. Remember to share, rate, and follow Lifespan for more wild stories.